Hey everyone, it's MOLOCH, and today we're going to be opening another book. This one, it's really awesome because my sister actually gave this to me. When I get to maybe 1,000 subscribers or something and I can actually start getting some income from my videos, I'll set up a P.O. box so people can send me books. But this one, so far I think is the only book that I'm going to be opening that's a gift and isn't something that I purchased. That's why these videos sometimes are less frequent than my gaming ones, is because art books can be a little expensive, and other than this one, I've been buying the other ones. But I'm very grateful to my sister who got me this book. It's a pretty expensive book. I think she got it for it's like $60 or $80 when she went to the actual Banksy store when she was in England on a trip to Europe because she was trying to learn Italian because half of my family is Italian. So that's a fun fact about how I got this book. My first interaction with this book was actually in Italy. I was visiting Lucia Pompa, a very sweet, sweet lady who loved me. I played soccer with her daughter in Foggia. I was in Foggia. I went to her house for a wonderful dinner. She made us a risotto. Speaking of which, Italians, at least the ones in southern Italy, in Foggia, thought it was very weird that Americans use risotto, pumpkin, that they use pumpkin for desserts and sweets. They thought that was so weird. They're like, you use pumpkin in sweet stuff? Turns out they use pumpkin in kind of savory things, like the rice. Risotto is kind of a rice meal. And it was so good. Oh, she's such a good cook, and she's really good at making cakes. She makes really cool cakes. Banksy is a street artist, probably one of the most famous street artists. A lot of what he does really successfully is use the environment to his favor. And he also tends to do clever kind of satires, plays with imagery that people are used to or recognize. No one really knows who he is, or she. Pretty sure it's a he, but you never know. There's been a lot of speculation. There's always someone who says, I figured it out. It's this guy from Massive Attack or something, or this other person, and generally they're wrong, which is nice because part of the magic of Banksy is that no one knows who they are yet. A lot of people will recognize Banksy, but a lot of people, this is probably one of his most famous works besides the balloon, don't really understand the history and also how it works. So Banksy has done some other bigger projects, especially now, like the self-shredding gallery piece, his hotel, the sad version of Disneyland, Dismal Land, the authorized graffiti area. But primarily, Banksy works in stencils, and this started because Banksy was trying to be a graffiti artist, but was sort of bad at it. He said he kept getting caught, and had to come up with a way to create the imagery more quickly. This is interesting, the cutouts. Eventually, he went on, I think it was border walls of Israel and Palestine, and did that, which is pretty cool. There's the balloon. And if you do buy this book, there's a lot of wonderful commentary and cheeky little things he says. But yes, Banksy's, many of them are destroyed, unfortunately. One of the ones I'm aware of is the QR code that would send people to the kind of riot suppression in a refugee camp in France. That one was destroyed. It's really sort of unfortunate. But a lot of it isn't meant to last as street art. some of that magic probably goes away once it's put in a fancy house or a gallery. But the people who photograph these, I think it's very honorable, and it's great to keep them so everyone can see them. So we can have an archive and a history and a memory of these things. And a lot of the sort of the art that led up to the stencil that Banksy uses. I'm not sure if you know who Blek Lerat is. Blek Lerat is a French artist, a stencil artist who would often do homeless people and other figures on walls. And the technique is very similar to a lot of what Banksy has done. So a lot of Banksy's concept feels original and is very striking and funny and memorable and iconic. But this is the Palestine wall. I was talking about the segregation wall. But a lot of the technique itself is not that original. Stencil art as street art precedes Banksy. But personally, I don't really feel that mitigates the value in a lot of Banksy's art, because I feel like the wild style cow. Because I feel like a lot of the value of Banksy's works don't necessarily come from modernism. This is something Banksy would do. He'd find these paintings that had been done, maybe also prints or just art school paintings or paintings that you find at, yard sales. And he would make his own little cheeky edits to them. Then he would go into galleries and place the art and see how long it would stay there. And people would look at it, and it was really funny because some of them, I guess, lasted for quite a bit. Banksy has a lot of fascinating statements, too, about art. They're worth a bit of a read up on. I'm trying to go through it smoothly so you can see the images and kind of get a feel for the book. Construction is of a pretty good quality. You can see they're sewn together, the pages are. It does bend a lot in the middle, but usually they're pretty good at staying away from that kind of gutter space in the middle. If you want to learn more about Banksy or get some more Banksy flavor in your life, I would highly advise you to watch Exit Through the Gift Shop. Kind of a movie that is... It's hard to understand what's actually going on in the movie if it's all a big joke at the expense of the audience or the art world. Because of the artist Mr. Brainwash, which you could probably argue that that's what the movie is about, but really it's about street art. Like, that's why you watch the movie, not for Mr. Brainwash, because, I don't know, maybe some people like Mr. Brainwash, but I think Mr. Brainwash kind of sucks. But, well, Mr. Brainwash doesn't suck. I don't like the art in the film that Mr. Brainwash creates, and I don't have a lot of respect for his exhibition. But his documentation of street art, if he is a real person who was actually doing that, it's hard to tell because the whole movie feels like a joke. That's awesome because you get to look into Invader, you see Shepard Fairey, the guy who does Obey, and you also get a little bit of insight about Banksy, who kind of, despite, the film's protagonist being Mr. Brainwash, Banksy, in my opinion, feels like the star of the show. So check out Exit Through the Gift Shop. I also watched Saving Banksy, about a guy who cuts a Banksy out of like a wall, and he's just surprised at how hard it is to keep one of those things alive and find a place for it. Now it's probably a little bit less difficult, but still. Those stigmas against graffiti and street art, they're real. Advice for making stencils is funny. But that is Wall and Piece by Banksy. It's a bit of a pricier book. All of his imagery pretty much is available in other places. I personally think that Banksy would not be that upset if you found a way to see his cheeky little comments and stuff if you can't afford this book yet. If you want to support him, you can always find a way to. If you're a normal person, you probably can't afford his art because it is so high priced, which kind of makes sense with the fame and also the rarity of them. I got to see a Banksy because there's one behind glass in Park City, Utah. And it's cool because it kind of puts a jab at documentary filmmakers at Sundance. Filmmaking in general, maybe. But he's a pretty lovable artist. You get that sense of rebellion and adventure from him. I would say if you can afford this book, it's worth it. But it is a little bit pricey considering the fact that pretty much everything inside this book is very much available on the internet very easily and not through like torrents or downloads. So if you can buy this book and you want to, go for it. It's not a bad book. It's put together well. It's good quality. But don't be deterred from Banksy just by the price, because you can enjoy Banksy for pretty much free if you just find, I'm pretty sure Exit Through the Gift Shop is on YouTube, and you can find images of pretty much all of his art and context about his art online. He has a website. You should check it out. Thank you so much for watching this open video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you a little bit of an introduction to a street art, even if you don't know anything about street art, and maybe it piqued your interest a little bit, and you're going to go look up some extra things and discover the wonderful, wonderful, ridiculous at times world of street art. This is MOLOCH, and I'm heading out.